Good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Just not sure if everyone can hear me or not.
Mayor Frank, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Well, now I can. Thank you.
Excellent.
Okay,
Thank
I'll
you.
go ahead and I'll call our meeting to order. This is our regularly scheduled city council meeting for Tuesday, July 19th, 2022. Due to the fact that I'm virtual and we have issues sometimes with virtual, I will be asking Mayor Pro Tem Bynum to please run the meeting in my absence. Mayor Pro Tem Bynum.
Thank you very much. We'll start, well, I guess I'll go ahead and say this is the regularly scheduled city council meeting. It is Tuesday, July 19th, 2022, and we will start our meeting off if you'll join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll ask Lisa Del Piccolo, our city clerk, to take roll.
Dave Frank,
Here.
Barbara Bynum,
Here.
Doug Glassbell,
Present.
J. David Reed,
Here.
Ed Ulibarri. All city councilors are present.
Thank you. Mr. Glassbell, are there any changes or additions or deletions to the agenda tonight?
Yes, item number 8 has been removed from the agenda. That's all I'm aware of.
Thank you. Yeah, I believe that doesn't require any council action, so we took that off. Okay, moving along. Item number 5 is a Park and Recreation Month proclamation, and I'll be joined up here by Jeremy Masters from the Rec District, and I'll read the proclamation. Is this on?
It should be on.
Right here. This works great. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good, thank you very much. I am honored to read the city proclamation tonight in honor of Park and Recreation Month for July of 2022. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including that served by the Montrose Recreation District and the City of Montrose. And whereas parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region. And whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Park and Recreation Month. And whereas the Montrose Recreation District Board of Directors has designated July as Park and Recreation Month. And whereas the City of Montrose City Council recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Montrose, Colorado, do hereby proclaim the month of July 2022 as Park and Recreation Month in the City of Montrose. Picture. Yeah, there we go. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you, Roland. Okay.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda tonight is item number 6, which is call for public comment for non-agenda items. The call for public comment agenda items is a time when concerned members of the community may publicly voice their concerns and discuss items of interest. Please note that no formal action will be taken on the matters raised during this time. Comments made during this time should be addressed to the council and pertain to matters of at least general importance to the city and its operations. Please be aware that neither city council nor city staff are expected to respond or engage in discussion or debate. Personal attacks and disagreements, personnel and employment matters, the use of profanity or ethnic, racial, or gender-oriented slurs are prohibited, as is any disorderly conduct which violates state or local laws and shall not be permitted. Do we have anyone here tonight who'd wish to make public comment? Okay, we've got 2 folks. Mr. White, can you please approach the podium and state your name and address, please, for the record?
Yes, David White, 12059 6300 Road. I was here 2 weeks ago with an ask of council that I be put on a work session, perhaps with other business owners, to address crime in the city. We've been victimized. Sent a email to Mrs. Del Piccolo and received a reply back after almost a week of not hearing anything that you guys weren't interested in meeting with me and I should meet with the chief, which I did today. And we had a great meeting, Chief and Commander Smith. And some things are going to be in the works that I'm sure you'll hear about. But, you know, I just want to say that I'm disappointed that I got that reply. Whether or not it came from you guys, there was no, it just says city council desires you speak with the chief. So, Mr. Reed, 22 years ago, you knocked on my door asking for my vote when you first ran for council. I was impressed. You wanted to represent me. And now, 22 years later, you're sitting there, you helped drive the PSST 2A referendum, and I'm not picking on you, I'm just saying to all of you, I would like for you guys to sit down and talk to me. If you come out to my business, I can show you what's going on. But we have a problem in this community that needs to be addressed. I believe the chief and the commander have every intention of getting business owners and the community brought up to speed on what's being done to stop this. Things that they can't control, I understand. I got a really good explanation today, but I don't know where all of you are. And I know this, I'm just making comments. You can answer my questions if you so desire, but I just want to get it on the record. I would really appreciate either one-on-one or 2 of you, so we don't have a quorum, sitting down and talking to me, so that you guys can see what I see as a business owner. 12 years as an elected official in this city and county, I've not seen it like this. And I never dissed a constituent regardless of whether or not I agreed or disagreed with them. But again, I'm formally asking for your time and consideration. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then I believe I saw Ms. Chapman, did you also have your hand up for public comment tonight? Can you please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record? Thank you.
I'm Janet Chapman, 60711 Oak Grove Road, Montrose, Colorado 81403. And I am a member of Citizens Climate Lobby, which is a nonpartisan national and international environmental group. And I am paying attention to the renovation of the Wells Fargo building. And in the Montrose Mirror, I got a lot of information a couple weeks ago, and I've been dialoguing with Jim Scheid on email. And what I'm here to do is ask to encourage you in the later phase of this renovation if you consider solar panels on the roof. And then you can be a good role model for our challenging, changing times. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else for public comment? Okay, we'll move on then to item number 7 on our agenda tonight. Yes.
I just have a question. Is it all right when these people are up here to ask a question?
It's not an item on the agenda, so we can't discuss it, is the problem. It's great for follow-up, but because it's not an agenda item, we don't do back and forth.
Okay, I just wanted to ask a question. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so next on our agenda, item 7, is approval of minutes. This is city council consideration of the minutes of the July 5th, 2022 regular city council meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the July 5th, 2022 regular city council meeting as presented. Second.
Great, we have a first and a second. I don't think we need any further discussion, so I'll ask our city clerk to we're doing individual votes, right? Okay.
Dave Frank,
Yes.
Barbara Bynum,
Yes.
Doug Glassbell,
Yes.
J. David Reed,
Yes.
Ed Ulibarri.
Yes.
We have a unanimous vote.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, we struck item 8 because that did not require council action. Item 9, our fuel contract amendment. This is the council consideration of the amendment of an existing fuel contract with Parish Oil Company. I will turn this over to our Public Works Manager, Jim Scheid.
Thank you, council. And yes, this is a recommendation for an amendment to a contract with Parish Oil for our fuel that we use throughout our entire city fleet. And so we purchase our fuel through Parish Oil in bulk. So we have tankers delivered 5,000 gallons at a time, and we receive a bulk rate through Parish for that delivery of fuel. Parish has requested an amendment to our contract, which was set up in 2020 when it was bid at that time. Since 2020, the surcharges and the delivery fees for Parish have increased substantially, and that's why they are requesting an amendment to their contract. I would say this is abnormal. We probably would not allow an amendment to a contract in this way, but there has been unprecedented, unpredictable changes to especially the fuel market in the country. So I think for those reasons, there is something we should consider. And Parish, their rates that they are recommending their increase will be less than the other bids we had received back in 2020. That is still says that this increase is not unjustified or excessive. And our allowing this increase is probably our best option as far as timing goes. That this would not be a good time to rebid our fuel contract. We'd be better off to ride this contract out through March, even with a slight increase, than rebidding it now. I think this would be a bad time to be rebidding fuel. We're anticipating by March that things should stabilize, and we'll be at least predict better what the next 2 to 3 years will look like after that. So this does include about an 11-cent per gallon increase for gas and diesel. And that increase is relatively insignificant in the overall budget for fuel. Our budget is $325,000 for gas and diesel. And so this would amount to be about an $8,000 increase. And that amount does not concern us as far as going over budget in our individual division budgets for fuel. With that, nothing else has changed since we discussed it at work session, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if they've come up.
Thank you. I think we had a nice discussion at work session. Is there additional comments, or anyone want to repeat what we talked about?
The only thing I would add, because I am concerned about when we change a contract midstream, and this is further down than midstream, but that we be cautious about doing that and not set precedents when we do it. I think under the circumstances dictate that we do approve this, but I would not want us to just every time a contractor wants to change the terms of the contract midstream, that we automatically say, oh, we need to do that. We need to take each and every one of them individually and weigh the circumstances before we make that kind of a decision. In this case, I do think it warrants it.
I kind of agree with Mr. Reed. The only thing that I find interesting is the last week or so, the prices of fuel has gone down instead of up for the first time. I don't know how long that'll last, but
Yeah.
like the concerns are the same, is that in the middle of the contract, they're asking for a price increase, and I could see it for a while, but then what happens if the price goes down to the price that it was before we got the contract?
But we're going to have to renegotiate this contract relatively soon anyway. So
Oh,
Right.
okay.
I think
Yeah.
for me, the fact that this contract is cancelable by either party with just 30 days' notice is the key, that if we didn't renegotiate, they would probably just cancel the contract and we'd be rebidding. So to me, that is really different than, no, let's hold their feet to the contract through March. Additional comments, Mr. Glassfeld? Mr. Frank, Mayor Frank, any additional comments?
I would agree with the comments by by all councilors so far, but I think it's very important to remember that cancellation clause that they contain in that contract allows them the option of canceling with 30 days notice, which would force us into an environment of renegotiating anyway. So I definitely agree with Councilor Reed that this is not something we are going to consider as a normal course of action, and that this is a very extraordinary circumstance, but we do see the value in doing this at this time.
If there are no more council comments, I will accept any public comments on this agenda item. I do not see any, so we consider a motion.
I'll make a motion to amend the existing fuel contract with Parish Oil as presented.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Will you do a roll call vote?
Dave Frank,
Yes.
Barbara Bynum,
Yes.
Doug Glassfeld,
Yes.
J. David Reed,
yes.
Ed Ulibarri.
Yes.
We have a unanimous vote.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda tonight is item 10, City Hall renovation contract award. This is consideration of the authorization of an award for $1.5 million for the renovation of City Hall at 400 East Main Street, formerly Wells Fargo, including the award of a contract with FCI Constructors, Inc. as the construction manager, general contractor. And I will turn this over to Public Works Manager Jim Scheid.
Thank you, council. So yes, this is a request for an authorization of $1.5 million for the entire project associated with the renovation of the former Wells Fargo building to be the new City Hall. And so within that $1.5 million is a contract with FCI Constructors as the CMGC contractor. Now, we've used this approach on a couple other projects where it was very beneficial. The PD project is an example of that, probably a much larger example, but also the amphitheater that we did last year was also an example of a time when we use a CMGC approach. And it has a lot of benefits as far as schedule and cost control in our design, and that's why in a project like this, it makes a lot of sense to utilize so that we can make sure our design aligns with our budget, which in this case would be 1.5. As we continue through design, we can utilize that general contractor to help us stay on budget, so we don't end up with a design that is over budget. So we kind of use those in conjunction. As we design, we are also pricing out the project and helping us stay on budget. And that's one of the benefits of a CMGC approach, ultimately lowering the risk as the owner of the project, in that when we do establish a GMP or a guaranteed maximum price, we will know where we're at before then. And that is a much lower risk for us as an owner. And that's another reason why we utilize this approach. The CMGC contract is one piece of the puzzle to accomplish this project. There's other pieces in motion already. The asbestos abatement of the building is actually nearly finished. They should be finishing tomorrow. We also have a roofing replacement underway that's being bid right now. And we have a design team already on board as well. and they are actively working on this project. All of those items are included in the 1.5 total project cost, even though they've already begun. So as far as the CMGC portion of it, we did issue an RFP for that. We received two very well-qualified applicants or proposals for that. We went through interviews with them and looked at their experience, their qualifications, their teams that they proposed, their pre-con and construction approach, and ultimately selected FCI Constructors as the contractor that we'd recommend. So upon authorization of this award, we would begin that pre-con portion of the work right away. We actually have meetings scheduled already, hopefully, that we can continue on with those as scheduled. And they would be working closely with our architect and us as the owner to get rolling on this immediately. And FCI would then work with our design team at the significant milestones and offer pricing updates and alternates to that we can again change to make sure that we're on budget. So one of those milestones would be conceptual design or schematic design. Those are times when we would be reviewing pricing. And ultimately, once we get to a design development stage of design, FCI would generate a GMP, or guaranteed maximum price. And at that point, we would award a construction contract for that amount. And that is included in that 1.5 million as well. Another note on the project is that Blythe Group is our architect that we're working with, and something they are working on as part of this contract is providing conceptual design layouts of the exterior of the building. Now, that portion is not included in the construction portion of the project, but it is included in the design, which will allow us to budget for it in future years. But it's a kind of exciting portion of the project to see what the exterior of that building would look or could look like, some of our options there. And so also with this, nothing has changed since we discussed it at work session, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if they've come up.
Thank you. Council, any questions?
Yeah, on the second half, I know, I believe we approved monies for the first half of the project, the $750,000 for the asbestos abatement and also for the roofing. How is the second half administered? I know you said that you would administer the contract, and my question is that contracts over $50,000 are the responsibility of the city, and then if we authorize this $100,500,000, would we not be in violation of the city charter? Just maybe somebody could answer that. I was just a little concerned because I didn't quite understand your process for bidding it until I thought about it, and then it made sense to me, but then I remembered something about, there was a note in one of this about a contract for $47,000, and then there was a note about the city charter,
Right.
$50,000 and over.
So who's best to explain this process to
I can,
Mr. LeBaron?
I
You
can
or
explain,
Mr.
yeah.
Okay.
So actually both pieces of that, the $750,000 that we mentioned as part of the GC scope and that would be owner provided are all within that 1.5. So that's what would be authorizing tonight. That would include both pieces. So there has been none of that previously authorized except for the asbestos abatement. That was something previously authorized as that contract, and that was not nearly $750,000. So that's where this approach is different, that when we have a hard bid job and we receive bids that are over $50,000, we come back to council on a per contract basis. That's where this approach with using the CMGC is different, because we're asking for that authorization up front to where we can manage that budget throughout the project. And as we receive a roofing estimate, as long as it aligns with our budget and under the 1.5 total authorized, that we can continue with that without having to bring every contract back to council. because there would be quite a few of them. This project alone would create quite a few contract approvals that would extend the timeline of the project. And that's, again, why we use a CMGC approach to streamline that process in getting those approved up front and that overall budget, and then allowing us to manage it so that we can stay on track.
So what would be the responsibility of the contractors, the generals? They're just walking around watching the job to make sure it all gets done, or how does that work?
No, they're still in charge of what would traditionally be any general contractor on any project. They'll have a set of drawings that they're responsible for that scope. In this case, we accelerated the project by starting asbestos abatement and roofing replacement ahead of hiring a general contractor for the timeline.
Well,
If we
that
had-
part I understand. It's the other part that we haven't kind of got initiated yet, that would be initiated once we do the $1.5 million.
Right.
So I was just curious as to how that works, so that it was my understanding that the contracts over 50,000 would come before the council. So in other words, if I get it right, if we approve this tonight, then we're just allowing you and the city manager and the city attorney, whoever would do the contracts to run the project.
Yes, sir. You know, that we would manage that budget and accomplish the scope that we've estimated at a $1.5 million project, that we would control that project to make sure it stays under that budget, and we would manage that construction.
Okay, so if it starts to go above or gets really close to that, you'll notify the council, so we'll have an understanding as to what is happening and say, oh,
Yep.
hey.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I would ultimately have to come back to council with an amendment to my request tonight. So if something does, prices change, or maybe there's an unforeseen condition that we did not estimate, and the 1.5 isn't going to cover the project, then I would then come back with a recommendation of amending that total 1.5 to whatever it may need to be.
Will council see the contract with the GMP in it when they come up with a GMP, a guaranteed maximum price? Will that require council's approval, even though we will have perhaps already approved the overall budget?
No, but I would be more than happy to bring that to council as an update, and I definitely can do that. But as part of this process, because we're authorizing it now, that it wouldn't require an approval
Okay.
But as you-
necessarily on that contract. But I obviously would come back and update you as requested.
As you explained in the work session discussion that we previously had on this subject, there are cost benefits to doing it this way. There's two ways to do it. This happens to be one, and in this particular instance, it's economically beneficial to the city to go forward in this direction with the safeguards built in of the limit of 1.5 million, so the parameters are there, and the idea is to make it work within that approved amount.
Right. It's
Correct.
generally cheaper than a design bid build situation.
Definitely, yes.
Mr. Glasspool, Mr. Frank, do either of you have any questions? Okay. Then I would accept any public comment on this agenda item. Mr. White, please approach the podium, and again, please state your name and address for our record.
Okay. David White, 12059 6300 Road. Just curious what the overall total price is going to be for this project. I mean, purchase of the real estate, this $1.5 million, the roof, the asbestos, the solar panels, facade. What's your budget?
This phase of the project is 1.5. That's the interior layout changes within the building. It does not include any exterior or upgrades to electrical systems. It doesn't include any of that. So those could be a future project, but that is not within this 1.5. This 1.5 also does not include the purchase of the property.
Okay, but the total overall estimating must have a budget number for doing the whole thing. They're just the things you've already talked about.
Yeah, 1.5 is the estimate of
For,
this
for the
phase.
roof, the purchase, the
It does not include the purchase.
facade. I'm just trying to
Oh,
get a total number. I don't know if anybody has that.
Oh, gosh, we voted and approved all these at prior meetings, so it'd be part of the public record. I think 1.5 for the purchase. Asbestos was not that much.
yeah, asbestos was not very, I
few
can't remember,
thousand.
it was in the, I want to say 70, but I am guessing at that, but it's within this 1.5, that
Oh,
70 is.
the
within-
70 is within this 1.5.
Yes.
So 1.5 for the purchase and
So we're up to
1.5
3.
for the renovation.
Yeah,
All right, and
Plus the facade, whatever you're gonna do with that.
yeah.
It'd be about 3 million right now.
Yeah, our rough goal was 4 million. Everything, once we do that. Oh, thank you for turning that on. We did the 1.5 for the purchase of the building, and then the interior remodel to be able to get City Hall moved over there was this 1.5. And then the next phase would be getting rid of that white exterior. A lot of community members want us to change that and make it something a little more palatable for Main Street. And then there's just some structural things on the outside that need remodeled as well. So our overall goal was a rough $4 million. We don't know for sure on that phase 3.
Well, sure,
what that's
with
gonna be,
inflation like it is.
But
I'm
around
sure,
4
yeah.
million is what we were hoping.
Okay.
Just to go back a little bit, because a lot of people don't remember, we've talked about it a few times, but it's been over 10 years or more. There was a historic remodel of City Hall that was necessary. Virgil Turner had worked on it years and years ago.
Oh, I remember it.
Right,
Yeah.
so we've done a little bit of that incrementally as we could afford it.
Right.
And so we were facing, with the new PD building coming online, we were gonna move all of our City Hall employees into the old PD building for a couple of years while we did that historic remodel. And the rising cost of that as the building has been aging was up to around 6 million, if I remember correctly. Maybe 6.5, 7. And so when the Wells Fargo building came available at the 1.5, which was a good deal for that building, we thought maybe that would be a way for us to get those renovations necessary in that building, get all of us out, since we had to be removed to another location anyway. And then that would expedite the ability to do not only the City Hall remodel, but also getting the old PD turned into the new municipal court area, which was all part of that 2A plan. We're not allowed to use 2A monies for the new court area.
Right.
But there was a lot of, I think there's a lot of talk about the need of getting a new court area, so there's proper sizing and just bringing it to modern day standards and separate city council from the court itself, so it's a standalone, and utilizing that old PD. So it kind of expedites that project as well. Otherwise, we'd be in there for 2 years before we could even start getting in and designing and planning for that, which would move it out 5 years potentially.
Well, that's what the county's dealing with the courthouse over there, but what about this remodel? Does that play into this?
No.
Totally separate. The remodel in here, the dais reconstruction, was primarily safety driven. There's some functionality that'll be improved by reconfiguring the dais and allowing 2 wings where we have speakers on either side, and the technology would be increased hopefully, so the online presence is better, but also hearing throughout the room would be better, so everyone in the back of the room or the front of the room could hear, because there's pockets, as you know, where you can't hear very well. So all of that, plus making it safer by doing a dais that has proper construction to protect people in the case of an active shooter situation or something like that. So
Yeah,
that's
duck and-
totally
duck and
standalone.
cover,
separate.
guys.
That's totally separate.
All right.
Different project.
Okay.
thank you very much for your
Thanks.
public comments. I will maybe take this opportunity to point out some of the work that our city clerk's office has been doing with all of the city council agendas. They're using new software, and one of the really cool features of that is that not just for counselors, but any public can go into that, and you can search, for example, the word Wells Fargo, and it'll take you to exactly when we talked about that at a work session. And so instead of the old-fashioned way would just be to have to open up every work session we'd ever had for the last year to try and see if you could find that meeting. But the new software is really great. And so I appreciate the explanation from Mr. Bell, but if you want the full discussion that we had about work session, it's pretty easy to find. And we also now record all of our work sessions, and so you could watch it and listen to, not just see the minutes. Okay, any more public comment about the Wells Fargo contract? Well, I should call it the City Hall renovation contract. Okay, So seeing none, time for motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize the award of $1,500,000 for the renovation of City Hall at 400 East Main Street, including the award of a contract with FCI Constructors Incorporated as the construction management/general contractor as presented.
Second.
Great, we have a first and a second. Will you do a roll? Oh, Mr. Frank? Who is
I was just going to second the motion.
Oh, okay. Sorry. It's, as you know, trying to keep track of the video piece is hard. My apologies for not seeing that. We do have a first and a second, so will you take a vote?
Dave Frank,
Yes.
Barbara Bynum,
Yes.
Doug Glassbell,
Yes.
J. David Reed,
Yes.
Ed Ulibarri.
Hesitantly, yes.
We have a unanimous vote.
Great, thank you very much. So I will go on next to agenda item 11, staff reports. And the first agended piece of staff reports is our sales use and excise tax report. And tonight we are welcomed by our Assistant Finance Director, Eric Haynes. So Eric, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, and good evening, Council and Mr. Mayor. Give me one moment to bring up the report. Okay, so we have the sales use and excise tax collection report for May 2022. We'll start with the general fund, sales and use taxes. The city's general fund portion of the sales tax is 3%. And the May sales and use tax compared to May 22 compared to May of 21. For retail sales, we were up 9.6%. The construction use up 191%. Use and auto use was down 21.2%. Total collections up 14.8%, and that is a positive budget variance of 67.9%. Year-to-date sales and use tax for the general fund compared to 2021, retail sales up 11% or $869,000. Construction use up 71.2% or $244,000. Use and auto use is on pace or the same as 2021. Total collections up 12.6% or $1.1 million. That too is a positive budget variance of 50.3% or $3.3 million. The Public Safety Fund, public safety sales and use taxes effective January 1st of 2020. The city began collecting an additional 0.58% sales and use tax as approved by the voters back in November of 2019. The funding was to be used for increasing public safety staffing and constructing the new public safety facility. So May 22 compared to May 21, for retail sales, it's up 9.5%. Construction use up 56.8%. Use and auto use down 21.2%. Total collections, an increase of 11.4%, and a positive budget variance of 20.7%. The year-to-date sales and use tax for the Public Safety Fund, retail sales up 10.9% or $167,000. Construction use up 38.3% or $35,000. Use and auto use also the same as 2021. Total collections up 11.6% or $201,000. As a positive budget variance of 26.8% or $410,000. The Montrose Rec District, effective June 1st, 2014, the city began collecting an additional 0.3% sales and use tax as approved by the voters to be used to help us build the new community rec center. And in May, the collections were $225,444. And that's an increase of 11.6% up from May of 2021. Year-to-date, it's just over $1 million and an increase of 11.6 or $104,000. For excise taxes, hotel excise tax adds 0.9%. Restaurant excise tax adds an additional 0.8%. And for May 2022 compared to May 21, the hotel excise tax was up 15%. Restaurant excise tax up 12.4%, and the total collections up 12.9% for a positive budget variance of 29.5%. Year-to-date, the hotel excise tax is up 26.5% or $10,000. Restaurant excise tax up 9.4% or $20,000. Total collections, an increase of 11.9% or $30,000. And again, a positive budget variance of 29% or $62,000. And the retail sales enhancement, in 1990, vendors agreed to give up a portion of their fee to fund this program to help promote retail sales in Montrose. And for May, the collections were $48,922, which is an increase of 9.4% over May of '21. And year-to-date, collected $231,626, or an increase of 10.6 or $22,000 from the same time period in 2021. That is it, and I'll open it up for any questions.
Thank you very much.
I just think that you did a really good job, and I know the studying all afternoon helped.
Well, I hope it came through that way. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And for anyone who finds this fascinating, the complete charts and tables and the every month from January through May are listed in the public council packet, which is available on our website. So if you like charts, there's a whole bunch more that says what you said there. Other comments or questions? Mr. Frank, I can't see you right now because we are still sharing this screen. So if you have a question or comment, would you speak up? Oh, there you go.
No, I thought it was excellent. I thought Mr. Haynes did a fantastic job. Good work.
Great. Thank you very much. Any additional staff wish to report on anything? Okay, then I'll go to city council comments. Okay.
I received a letter about the Kinnikin processing, and according to seeing what's on my internet, which I'm still learning how to use, how have we addressed that? Have we made contact with them or anything, do you know?
Yeah, I do. I believe we got an email from, okay, do you want to?
We've reached out to Kinnikin, to the owners, and I'm actually doing a walkthrough over at Kinnikin tomorrow morning to look at their operations and see what's happening over there and if there's any way we can help.
Yeah, because I remember not too long ago, they were complaining about that other, the Dog Biscuit or whatever building right there on Main Street was making an awful stink. And so I was just curious what's transpired this way.
Yeah, I can report back to council on what I find from the meeting tomorrow.
Great, and we did get a report from staff that after receiving that letter, staff did reach out and have a phone call with them the very next day. And I think that probably is what led to Mr. Bell's meeting with them. So staff did get in touch with them because of the letter we got.
I must have missed it on my computer, so. Anyway, but I saw this and I thought, well, I better bring it up just to make sure. Thank you.
Any other council comments? Mayor Frank, do you have any comments? Great, okay. I have nothing either, so in that case, I would entertain a motion
Move to adjourn.
So moved. Thank you very much.